I'm Tony Higgins from Blueprint, and in this segment we're going to talk about requirements visualization and how it's able to transform the IT software process. To begin with, I'm going to talk about the what. What is requirements visualization? Well, it really is quite simply taking what was or what is traditionally using declarative legal style text to express requirements and making it more visual. So we want to take it and convert it into models. And models, what they are basically is they represent real world objects and the relationships between them and even how they behave. Models are used in just about every engineering discipline, but not so much in software engineering. And there really is no reason why they shouldn't be. They provide tremendous value. So models represent real-world objects and their interrelationships between them. We can then take those models and actually move them through time, if you will, showing how the future application will actually behave over time. And this is all very possible and doable today with technology like Blueprint, which I'll talk about a little later. But first I want to talk about why would we visualize requirements? Well, there's a few reasons. Visualizing requirements helps us in some of the key areas of business analysis. First, in eliciting requirements, also in analyzing them, and then expressing them or specifying them so others will be able to consume that information and do their work, like design and implementation and test, among others. If we attempt to do these key tasks, solicitation, analysis, and specification without visual models, simply relying on legal style text, we have a number of issues. I've just listed a couple of them here. One is that we really do have a lack of context. Requirements in and of themselves are important, but just as important is the context around those requirements. It's very, very difficult to identify if information is missing or if we have redundant information if we can't see how they interrelate and how they all fit together. An analogy here that I like to use is like a jigsaw puzzle. If I were to dump that out over the table and ask you if a piece was missing, it would be extremely difficult or impossible for you to look at it and tell me that answer. However, if we were to put every piece in context, in other words, complete the jigsaw puzzle, it becomes instantly obvious when a piece or more pieces are missing, or if some don't fit. So that's an analogy that really does hold true when we're talking about requirements as well, and basically shows the power of visualization. Now, moving through, there's other key activities like validation or review and approval. This is where we're bringing in other stakeholders to now look at the requirements that we have elicited, analyzed, and specified, and we're now trying to communicate to them. Again, when they are lacking context, it's very, very hard to spot missing, redundant information. Errors simply don't jump out at you and they don't surface. They're not exposed as readily as when you model them visually. Moving on down the line, communicating out the information once it has been approved, communicating it out to all the developers and all the testers, not to mention the other business functions that also need to look and understand the requirements as well, like operations, the people who will deploy it and support it and deliver training for it. All of these people are consumers of those requirements. And if it's a big, thick, legal style text document, it is nowhere near as consumable had it been expressed visually. Again, they suffer from many of the same issues in terms of context, difficulty in spotting, missing information or redundant information. It turns out it's just very, very hard to communicate when we take rich, vibrant ideas and concepts from a business analyst and then render them down into flat legal style text and then expect somebody at the other end to read that, form visualizations in their mind. The chances of those two visions being the same are almost impossible. When we communicate them out and we basically have some loss in translation and people aren't able to understand them effectively, of course this is added to the sets of errors that are already baked into that document because we didn't do visualization before. So there's errors injected at every point of the process into the requirements asset. So the consumers of it basically have their communication problems added to the issues that are already in the document. Net result is we have errors, we have late delivery, leading to change requests because these issues will be surfaced, and generally they're surfaced when we are able to visualize things, when those flat legal style text is actually translated into functioning code and we can see the application, that's when it gets exposed. That's when we see many of the errors. That's when all the change requests start to happen. And when we have change requests, we basically have rework. We have to return to the beginning and we have to do over work that we basically did before but in error. All of that translates from a business standpoint into delayed delivery, into increased costs, and into compromised quality for the software application that we're putting out to market. There are ways to help this. It's basically to use modern technology to help visualize our requirements. A product like Blueprint allows you to express requirements visually in a number of diagrams using an integrated requirements model where all the pieces are together, analogous to the jigsaw puzzle I mentioned, and it even will take those models and transition them into a time-based simulation. In other words, like a prototype that end users can actually interact with in terms of screen mock-ups and driving you through use case flows that dictate the behavior of that application. So this is how requirements visualization can help the IT software process.